What's going on, guys? Today we are doing a bit of a different video. This is going to be more of a pod, if that's still the cool thing to say in 2025, but I've got a guy on my right over here by the name of Mr. Shaun Ng, and I will let him properly introduce himself. But on my left, I also have Mr. Carlo Urania. Did I say it right?
Urina.
Don't mess it up. Don't mess it up. But these two guys, we've been building a little bit more, and I think Carlo's a little more building in silence. This guy over here has been a little louder, crushing it over on Twitter this year. And obviously, if you're watching this on YouTube, this is where I'm at. But we've been masterminding here in Portugal for the last couple of days. We're here for a few more, and Carlo's going to chef up some B-roll on there of what it looks like at this place. It's insane how nice it is here. Today we just want to talk about how we're going to be scaling in 2025 and some of the things that we've been discussing here. A lot of reflection stuff, some big numbers. So if you're in Ecom, this is definitely going to be something you want to sit down and maybe pull out a notepad and take a few notes and try to see what you can action from it. Because between the three of us, we've helped, probably generate over $60 or $70 million in the last 2 years for Shopify brands, and we're planning to probably do that. Probably do what, 100 million this year, Shaun?
Easy.
Probably touch the 9-figure club this year. So that said, I'll let this guy over here introduce himself. Shaun, who are you? What do you do, man?
Yeah, so like Spencer said, my name is Shaun. I'm based in Malaysia, so very far out. A lot of you guys don't even know where that is. But so what I handle is mainly just the marketing side of things. We have created a system where we have scaled brands to crazy numbers, 100K days, 800K per day. We've tested it across multiple different people as well. So now we built this system where we not only proved it with our own clients, with other students as well. So I mainly handle the marketing side of everything.
And what about you, bro? What do you do, Mr. Carlo?
Yeah, so as Spencer said, my name is Carlo. I am based in Croatia. Probably even less people know where Croatia is. But yeah, within the agency, I manage the whole creative process. So that includes doing research for our clients, coming up with ad ideas, managing creative team, so copywriters, video editors, graphic designers, and kind of helping the whole team close the feedback loop and just kind of doing behind the scenes creative strategy for all the clients within the agency.
The silent savage.
Pretty much, yeah.
Carlo's the guy responsible for how our clients are actually getting results. If everybody thinks it's me and Shaun marketing, but it's actually this guy. But
in silence.
In silence. But he's been making some noise this year. Obviously, both of their socials will be linked down below if you guys want to follow them. But let's get into some questions, Shaun. I heard you wrote down some heavy hitters, so let's get to it, bro.
Yeah. So you guys said we plan to make $100 million this year. How will you plan to do that?
Not a lot of sleep. A lot of no. And I think this year what is giving me a lot of confidence, just I would say more or less outside of like strategic stuff, which I want to talk about, but just like compounding knowledge. I think we've just been doing nothing but ecom for the last 4 years straight, and now we're getting into our 5th year of this, and it's just something that I don't think enough people talk about, that when you stay doing the same thing for a long period of time, it's just hard. It's harder to suck at it. We're definitely not the best in the business yet. We've got a little bit more time to put in, but I think for us, we've just seen, we've gone through all the pit holes, we've hit all the roadblocks, and there's still more to come, but we've really been able to test a lot of different things and kind of put together a strategy, like Shaun was mentioning, that is predictable and that we have seen work not only for our clients, but also at scale when we literally just tell people how to do it. And so I think if we're talking actual strategy though, and what that actually looks like, I think a huge piece is just going to be really doubling down on creative and the volume that we're going to try to push this year. If you've seen one of my recent videos, I talked about multiple engines. We're wanting to get a new engine built out this year around just pumping out tons of content and just UGC and videos and incentivizing content creators to just be obsessed with the brand and go and share, with their followers, or just give us that content so we can, put spend behind it. And so getting that engine ramped up is going to be a huge initiative for us. And I think once we have that in place, like the scale that we're going to be able to unlock from testing creatives and just seeing what sticks is going to help the other engine that we've talked about, which is the creative strategy side of things. And I think that's where AI is coming into play massively and is giving us, or giving me more confidence in what we're going to be able to do. We've been talking a lot about AI and what it's going to look like. You can almost automate about 90% of the process with AI. And so we're really focusing on executing that and really ramping up our creative volume while keeping the intent piece. Because obviously, some of you may be spamming. I just talked to a brand owner last week, said they're testing 200 creatives a month and nothing's hitting, right? So that's because they have no intent and they don't understand. So last year for us was a lot about understanding, and we were able to generate over $50 million. And I think trying to double from here feels very, very tangible, honestly, because of what we learned and how much we understand now. And now it's just a matter of actually executing the processes. So those two engines are going to be huge. And I think if we, again, just execute and actually set KPIs and set proper goals and find the right people to execute them, it's definitely going to be possible this year. Anything else? If there's anything else that I forgot?
Yeah, I think just really doubling down on volume, but while still keeping that high intent piece. I think that's very important, and I think that's a piece that a lot of brands lack or don't put enough attention to. And with AI, it's becoming even easier. It's actually becoming even easier to miss that piece. But if you use the AI right, it allows you to go even deeper, easier and faster and more efficient. So that's really what our main focus will be, just more volume, but with intent.
I also think adapting is the other thing that I'll say, is like going from strategies that we're working in. I think a lot of people who, if you're watching this YouTube video, I try to give you the most up-to-date strategies, but I think a lot of the times you hear about strategies and it's sometimes a little bit too late, and like everybody already knows. It's like when a crypto coin drops, and everyone's like, oh, we got to go buy it. It's like you could maybe get a little bit of it, but you're probably a little bit late. Those people that already knew it was coming are the ones that had the insane gains. And so I think staying on top of trends and what is working and trying to not lead the way, but be very close to those people that are leading the way is going to help us a ton as well, because there's some creative strategies that we've been talking about that I think are just going to be killer this year. And it really just comes down to, again, it's just spending time in the game. And the more time that we do this, obviously the better that we get. And that's another, I think, a really important thing, is staying on top of what is happening, whether that's AI, specific strategies that are working, specific platforms that are working, just really trying to stay in tune and stay well connected with what's going to drive performance.
Yeah, and I think the most important part for that is just your network, right? If you guys are into crypto at all, if you guys really think about it, who's the one making the most money, right? It's not like you and I who are buying it. It's the whales who are having access to pre-sales, or they are the ones who create it themselves. That's who makes the most money. Same thing for whatever we do, right? These type of things we talk about with AI, if you're the first one to implement it, you'll be ahead of everyone. And most often, those people aren't going to share what's going to happen. So being close to, having this access to high-level people who are building on these type of things is what you should be looking forward to, and what you should be trying to do, just connecting with these type of people as well. Because it's really what's going to help you really build out your system, right? When I talk to a lot of already 9-figure entrepreneurs, etc., of course, they only got there because they had good systems in place, good incentives, good hires, etc. But for us to build those out, it takes a lot of skill, a lot of time. And if you want to scale fast, in 1 year make 100 million, the only way you're gonna surpass that in record time is through using AI to accelerate it. Next question. for Carlo. So, people always say that understanding your customer is very important. Why not just, just test a bunch of random ads on TikTok or whatever you see? Why is it so important to understand your customers?
Yeah, so obviously it's important to understand your customer so you first know who you're selling to because a lot of people are, they need to understand the pain points and the problems the product solves, but they don't really think behind the ads you make are actual people, like people watch your ads and they don't really want to be sold to. They're not on social media to buy stuff. Like before, for example, Eugene Schwartz, like it was easy for them to make killer ads in newspaper because in newspaper they were competing with, I don't know, whatever was in newspaper. But today on social media, when we're running ads, we're competing against, I don't know, funny cat videos or people's friends, family, whatever. And like, it's very hard to get their attention. And a lot of people just make like UGC problem solution type of ads. And they need to first understand their customer, understand obviously their problems, their pain points, what their desires are, that kind of stuff. But then they need to also understand how they spend the time on social media. What are their interests, what they enjoy watching, and stuff like that. So we can format our ads in that way. So our ads don't just come off as salesy or as boring, but they make them feel something and they make them interested in our product. So not just pushing to the sale, although those could work, obviously VSLs, for example, that's a whole other story. But I believe understanding your customer really helps a lot with formatting your ads and just making ads that are a lot more relatable.
I think it's like anything, like if you actually understand how something works, you can do it more predictably, right? Like you might just get lucky testing creatives and find a winning ad, but if you don't know and you don't understand why it's a winning ad, you're screwed. Like you're not going to be able to scale. You just got lucky. And so it's like when it comes to understanding your customer, if you actually understand your customer, you'll know how to make more ads for them, like Carlo was saying. But I think something that he said that I want to draw more attention to is the idea of making people feel something. Like literally your ad should make somebody feel something. And if you can think of when you're watching a movie and something really cringe happens, like you're like, oh, like, you do, like your body, you just feel something, right? Or if you're watching, like a guy in a Shark Tank and there's like a massive shark coming to him, you're like, your heart's like, you're like, oh my gosh, like you're feeling something, right? And people honestly buy on emotion, right? And emotion is one of those things where when you understand your customers and like you said, you understand what drives them to purchase and the emotions that they're feeling. And this is, I think, something that takes time to develop because you don't just want to make ads that say like, are you feeling sad? Or with like a, one of those dog shelter videos, but you want to make ads that basically motivate your customer to do something because you're triggering the emotions inside of them and you force them to act. And those are the most powerful ads. Those are the most scalable ads, but you can't make those unless you understand your customer. And so if you have just been getting lucky, or maybe you've just been spamming creatives in the account and you don't really know why, it starts with understanding your customer, because once you understand your customer, then you start to understand why ads work. And so to just kind of double down on what Carlo was saying, it's just like, it is the most important thing for scaling, period. And it doesn't stop at the ad creative level. It goes to your emails, it goes to your landing pages, it goes to your website, literally your branding, everything revolves around your customer, and the better you understand them, usually the better you're going to be.
Yeah, and even on the back end, like when big brands, how they scale as well, when they introduce new products, it's not that they go to market and find crazy new stuff. They just ask their customers, right? A friend of mine does 9 figures a year, but he still calls his customers. And a lot of you guys aren't even doing crazy numbers, and you guys aren't willing to do that. It makes sense why he got so far, right? And just to give you a more concrete example of what we're talking about. Attention is hard to gain, yes. Let's say you're selling a product. A lot of people sell the same shit as you, right? Let's say out of a sudden, this is an analogy that Spencer gave me, right? You get out the shower, you see an ad, and the ad says, hey, did you just get out the shower? You'll be like, yo, what? That's crazy. That's your attention, right? Your attention is grabbed already. And if, let's say that was the hook, you targeted exactly who you want. If you guys you don't seem to, find the customers that you actually want on Facebook, unprofitable CPA or whatever, it's likely because your ad doesn't really target your persona as well as you think it is. Either it's that, or it's just like everyone sells the same shit. How can you say something that's relatable to them? Yes, it makes you stand out from the rest. And that is by knowing your persona even better, right? I could sell a knee brace to you. A lot of people have knee problems, yes. But if let's say you were a 65 plus female who have knee pain, you got knee pain from playing tennis with your friend, same product, same desire, they're very different persona. If I were to create an ad that says something like that, you will stop because that's like exactly you. And even though it's the same exact product, I'm like, oh, not just for knee pain for tennis. You'll be like, this solves my specific problem. Then you buy my product and I got your attention already. So that's how it all pieces together. And you get there through research, yes. And a lot of people think that it's better to just create a whole bunch of ads, right? People say, oh, creative volume, you win by putting in volume. Yes, you win with volume, but okay, what if you just tested 200 creatives last month and nothing works? What are you gonna do then? And from what we've seen, what we've tested ourselves with our clients, students as well, it's this intent piece that we are just all talking about. Making sure each ad actually, you know who you want to target, what you want to target. Even just writing it down is very, very important. A lot of you guys have in mind, oh, I want to target this person with back pain. Okay, cool. There's a million different products that solve back pain. There's a different million brands that do the same shit. Really writing down like who you want to target exactly. What does their day-to-day life look like? For every single ad will make sure that you have the highest chance of success. And I think getting to a 7 to 8 figure brand is really just figuring out this intent piece. If you can go deep on an ad, figure out who the customers want, you get to 8 figures. And from 8 to 9 figures is when you figure out your systems, whether that's through AI or whatever it is. It's where you have the most leverage. So it's always most important to have the the intent first. When you mix intent with volume, that's how you get to a 9-figure brand, and that's what we are planning to do, pretty much. You guys agree with that?
100%.
So, we've been hiring a lot of different people this year.
Not the hiring question.
And like I said, systems is the most important part for us to get to 8 to 9 figures. What is the importance of having a good team, and how did we get there?
It's everything. I went to an event, shout out to Eddie and Ashton, Agency Founders was right before I came here, and I was having a conversation with a guy who scaled this company from previous year he was doing 6 million. Last year he did just shy of 20, and profit margins were, I can't say it, but a lot better. And he told me it's actually easier now running his company than ever. He has a company size of about 100 plus people, something like that. And that to me just really hit home, where I was like, that is the power of people. If you just build a team, you can have a great system, but if you build a great team, not only can that team actually optimize your system and make it better, but they will actually run it way better than you ever could. Because you have to understand, like, everybody's different, right? Like Carlo, we were just laughing about this because he was setting up the camera and the lights, and he does all this editing, and I'm just, like, for me, I can never do that, right? I'm like, I'm not that type of person. I can try, but it would just look terrible, right? And so for me, by having someone like Carlo on the team doing that, he is in what we've been all kind of talking about this weekend, like his zone of genius, and he's actually going to do it better than I ever could or Shaun ever could, right? Same thing like Shaun was saying, he's involved with marketing. I've been talking about some of this stuff, and I've been doing it on Twitter for a while, and nothing really clicked. Shaun was able to frame it and package it and market it in a unique way, and it absolutely went insane, right? So by having him handle marketing, it actually makes everything better. And so talking about like how important is team, like team is everything. Like your team is your business, and it doesn't even have to be a massive team. It can be a smaller team, but the people and the roles that they have, you have to make sure that they're in the right roles, right? We're using another analogy of like, think of a pirate ship, right? If you're in a bird's nest and you're trying to see where you're going, and then you got to come down from the top of the pirate ship and start driving it, and then you got to go down, and then you got to shoot the cannons, and you're trying to do everything. That it just doesn't make sense, right? You're not going to be able to do them all very well. But at the same time, some people have people that they hire, but they're in the wrong position, right? Like they hire a guy with an eye patch and put him up in the bird's nest, and this is the guy that's supposed to be telling you where you're going, but he's got one eye. Like obviously he's not going to do it that well. But that analogy can hopefully help you understand that having people is crucial for your systems and making it better and actually getting the most out of your systems. But you have to have the right people in the right place. Just having people in general, and I think this is the number one mistake that most people make, is they're like, okay, I'm gonna hire someone, and just because they apply and just because they say they can do a specific role, you hire them and you just feel great. You're like, geez, just hired a media buyer, just hired a copywriter, yet you interviewed 4 people, and this guy happened to like the same, he likes the same show, or you guys watch the same show, or something stupid like that, right? And what ends up happening is that actually ends up becoming a liability. So long rant put short, like how important team is everything, because without your team, you can't really continue to optimize your system. But most importantly, you can have an amazing system and it actually might not work. And we actually saw this as a final piece this year, last year, we thought we had a great system. It wasn't documented very well, but we had a good process of how we scaled brands, and we tried plugging specific team members in, and it didn't work. And we had certain teams that just could not execute for specific brands. And then we ended up giving this same process to students in our Involve program, and they absolutely crushed it. It was about we had a guy literally today just message us. In 3 months, he went from $500 a day on his store to $8,000 a day on his store. It's the same process, yet a team following it for some brands didn't get results, yet another guy following the exact same thing for his own brand did get the results. So what is the difference there? Obviously, there's some other variables that aren't accounted for, but most of the time it's the people and it's the team. So I think whatever system you have or whatever you're trying to build cannot be built without a phenomenal team. And so obviously I hogged that question quite a bit, but is there anything else you guys want to add around team or based on what you saw from last year?
You covered the part of obviously everyone knows how important the team is. I would like to touch on how to actually get in that team. Maybe if you're watching this and you want to get in that environment, you want to learn, you want to grow from that side of things. I think it's important to just have common sense. I think
Please.
That's one of the biggest things we've noticed is the bar is so low. It's so low. If you just put in just a bit more effort than everyone else, you can get to a place like that. You can learn, you can grow, and I would say just have common sense.
Yeah. Now the effort piece that was the biggest thing last year that we saw, is just obviously you need to have a skill set, and if you don't have a skill set, develop it. If you are, like Carlo said, looking to try to get into an environment like that. But even if you're hiring someone, I would way rather hire someone that has a decent skill set but is just getting after it, because I know that they should figure it out. Not all the time, and obviously when you're in an agency environment and it's fast moving, sometimes I just need someone that has skills and drive, but just understand that most of those people are probably already working somewhere. But just to what Carlo was saying, the effort piece, just actually give a shit. If you just give a shit, and I think it should be on the same side, especially if you're building a team, you need to give a shit about your team members as well, and that needs to be reciprocated. But if they can have their goals aligned with yours, your team can literally build you an entire business, right? There's that saying that, Steve Jobs didn't make the iPhone, he built the team that made the iPhone, right? And so a lot of the power is really in the people that you hire. Like if you want to build a great business, find great people. But what about you, Shaun? Do you have anything else about team?
I just want to touch on that. You obviously can't expect people to do the work for you. You have to be an amazing leader to them, and you have to set clear standards and clear objectives they need to kind of go for, because without that they won't know what to do. They won't know where to go, and you have to be the North Star of that, and you have to set the example and set the standards for them they can follow.
Yeah, because it's not like you are, as a brand owner, obviously if you work hard you earn a lot more profit. But what about your employees, right? Obviously they are not going to work as hard as you. They're not the business owner, they don't have that much incentives. Incentives is a separate topic. But before I get into that, what I've noticed as well, after meeting a lot of entrepreneurs from 0 to 9 figures per year, etc., even though you hire people, you should expect to be very involved in the overall process. A lot of people, especially those at like few hundred K per month with their brand, it's like, oh, I'm going to hire my strategists. Okay, they're going to handle the media buying for me. Now I'm going to do brand owner stuff. What even is brand owner stuff, right? What's going to drive your business? Still, creatives and offer. The ones I know that scaled the hardest, 8, 9 figures per year, are the ones who are still very, very involved in that process. And brand owners I've met as well who, have been more out of the picture, whether that's their side questing, whatever. Nothing wrong, but often they are business sales jobs. So there is a common pattern to that. So expect whatever you hire, you will still need to be involved in that process still, whether that is training your team or making sure that your team is aligned, etc. There's a lot of work that goes into it. It's not that you just hire someone and you piss off, right? You should think of hires as more of an addition to what you do, not a complete replacement. That's what I think. But Spencer, we've hired so many people this last year. Any tips or what should people avoid when hiring?
I think the number one thing you should avoid is hiring because you need to. This is like the new kind of way that we're approaching things, is even though you might need to hire someone ASAP, you have to hire someone because you want to hire them. We hired a ton of people last year out of just pure need, where we were willing to be like, yeah, a little like that's kind of odd, or oh well, it's just we didn't pay him to do the assessment, and we ended up hiring them because we needed to hire them. And I think that if I can, without going on a long rant again, if I can put it into a very short sentences, don't hire people, or a decent sentence, but don't hire people because you need to. Hire people because you want to. And again, big shout out to Eddie. I think the final piece to that is keep your pipes full and have a bench, have leverage, and leverage comes in having options. And, Eddie talked about a scientific study of how literally human behavior changes when you are desperate. You're willing to do different things because you are desperate. You don't have the leverage. So keep the leverage, have options, constantly be looking for the best people, but don't just hire someone because you need to hire them because you really want to.
So we talked a lot about AI. So Carlo, the question is, how are we going to use AI in our ad creation process?
A lot of ways. We're going to use it a lot and experiment a lot and break things and just try a lot of different things. And I think that's what all of you should be doing, just playing more with AI, because if you're not catching up with AI and if you're not up to date, you definitely should be, because even like 1 to 2 months now is a long time, and AI just evolves very fast and you need to stay up to date. Like just this week, a few days ago, I realized Claude can make websites and Claude can go to Reddit and do research for you if you just tell it to. But to not go on a tangent here, how we'll use AI? We'll definitely use it to come up with ad ideas based on all the data that we have. I think data is a huge one. You definitely need to have a lot of data on your brand, on your customers, customer surveys, feedback, reviews, basically any data you can get is what will set you apart from others that don't have any data, and we'll just leverage that information that we have to come up with ad ideas, write copy. I think that's one area we'll kind of explore, and then probably end goal is ad creation as well. AI is not there yet. It can't yet piece ads together. Maybe statics, but I would say it's not 100% yet there. You definitely still need editors and designers who make those for you. But I think as we talked about at the beginning, really doing more volume with high intent, I think that's the biggest play this year.
Yeah. And I think just honestly, I know everybody talks about like their favorite tools, and I think even when I watch videos sometimes about AI, I'm just like, oh, like what's the best tool? Like what's the next best tool? I think the best thing you can do is just try to use it every day. And I think sometimes people don't just like lay out all the things that they do, but literally just lay out all the things that you do. Or if you actually map out your system and your processes and you're like, what are all the things that we actually do? And then literally just ask yourself, one, this is the first thing that you do, can I replace this with AI? And if you don't know, go and ask an AI. Go and ask ChatGPT, go and ask Claude and say, could you do this? How would you do this with AI? And it will literally tell you. And so if you just try to use it as like think of it as like almost like an assistant for you, or just like this, because it literally is just a wealth of knowledge. It's this thing that it wants to help you. You just have to learn how to use it. And I think the more that we look at how we're going to use AI this year, the more excited that I get, because not only is AI obviously a little bit cheaper for the profit margins here, but number two, it's also way more scalable, which we've talked about is with intent, and how do you get to 9 figures, high intent, high volume, right? To Shaun's point, not to get distracted, it's 0 to 7, you can get there with either small intent or just tons of volume. From 7 to 8, you got to have typically some volume and a little bit of intent, and then getting to 9 is a lot of different things, but it's really just like maximum volume and maximum intent. And so AI gives you that, so the scale that comes from it. But more importantly for me, especially as we work with so many different brands, is the consistency, and the fact that AI actually listens really well. If you tell it that you want it to do a thing, usually it does it. And so that, to me, the scale and the consistency is what I'm most excited about. And I think you try not to overthink it. And I think the people that are going to have the most success with AI are the people that have a skill set already and are able to either leverage someone who already knows a lot of AI, which is basically what we're doing, and combining the two, right? I use an example of like the internet boom, and this might not be 100% accurate, but I think it was Mark Cuban who was really big into sports, and he decided to start broadcasting.com. I think it was Mark Cuban. If this is not, I'm just going to be really embarrassing, but he just decided to take his skill set of sports and what he loved and combine it with the internet, and that made him a billionaire. Yahoo bought that. I think it was Yahoo, right? And so try to think about how you could potentially do that with AI. And this is not, you shouldn't be obsessing over it. You shouldn't be forgetting everything that you're doing. But I think you really have to be prepared for what it is going to help people accomplish. And people have said it, I'll say it again, is that there is going to be a time where, thinking in chunks of time, where you can maximize the living heck out of AI and make make a ton of money with it if you can apply a skill set to it and have it execute things that usually takes a lot of time for people to do. And we even thought about, from a content side of things, we're doing a content shoot for a couple of brands right now at the agency. They got to ship us product. We got to go and get the crew. We've got to set up a set. We've got to strategize for it. We've got to then film it. We've then got to do everything, right? With an AI content machine, you could do a studio shoot in 30 seconds, a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. right? So like the time compression as well, the speed at which it can do things is, I think, something that people aren't talking about. And that for me is, I think, the final little piece there to stop the rant. But very, very excited about AI, and that's how we're planning to use it, is just looking at our system and asking ourselves and also asking the AI, how can AI do this? And figuring it out from there.
Yeah, I will say, I see a lot of people relying on AI ChatGPT to create their creatives now. But the thing is, it only accelerates your skill set also, right? If you sucked at marketing in the first place, it's not going to make you a prodigy, right? Of course, learning how to prompt it, etc., is a separate skill by itself. But if you don't know what good looks like, how are you going to create good things with it anyways? And that's why a lot of dropshippers I see, oh, I'm going to create a creative, I'm going to take a creative and use GPT to recreate this. Okay, cool, but if you don't know how to market in the first place, how do you know what actually came out was good? How do you prompt something that was good in the first place? So it's not that you should completely remove yourself from learning all these skills as well. Learn how to do marketing properly, then use AI to accelerate that. That's how you're going to scale. A lot of people try to cheat their way to it. Like, oh, I don't need to do research. AI can do it for me. Okay, cool. No wonder you're still stuck, you know. And the point is like, it's a separate topic, but in terms of mindset now, we have learned so much things already, and we've talked about a lot of different topics right here. But I feel like mindset is, although as bullshit as it sounds, is one of the most important things if you want to have success in anything you do in general, especially for us, right? The mindset we took to go from 0 to 1 million is very different from now. We're trying to go to 100 million, right? So I'm curious, Spencer, right now with the mindset, what do you think is the most important thing to get to 9 figures?
I think it's just systems and execution. Yeah, I don't really, I think a lot of people really complicate things, or I think if you actually step back, it's like a lot of things are very simple. And I think we really just need to, we know we have a system that works. Can it be better? 100%, and we will continue to make it better. But I think it's really just all about having a very optimal system and finding the right people to use it, and just, as Mr. Hormozi would say, more better. I don't really think, I think the only thing new that should even be considered is AI. Outside of that, it's just doing more of what we already know and doing it better, right? We know how to create ads that can scale, to spend 6 figures, right? How do we create ads that can spend $1 million? It's usually just creating more ads and getting better at it. That's really usually, it's all it is, And I'd say the other thing is like literally getting guidance from people that are already there, right? How did you get there, right? And actually looking at what they do, right? They can tell you whether or not you're doing the right things. And I think that's right to what you were saying earlier. Network is the most important thing. The only reason why I know a lot of what I know is from chatting with other people. And the funny thing is they've chatted with other people, which is where they learned that from. And the people that they talk to also talk to other people, which is where they got that information from. So it's like information comes through. And so, yeah, you just have to do more better. And again, the only thing that we're looking at that is new is AI. And outside of that, it's just more better all day, man.
Yeah. In terms of like, for those people who haven't seen success in ecom in general yet, what do you think is stopping them from seeing success? Is it just that they are, trying things for only a little bit and then they give up, or what do you think it is?
So I think it's just focusing on wrong things. I think a lot of people just try to catch the latest trend or see what's trending or try to replicate what others do, when they should just be focusing on their brand, on their customer. And it really all comes down to the basics and just doing the boring work, the work you don't want to do, and just trying to get better at it every day. And I know it's annoying and sometimes you suck and you maybe do like hundreds of ads and nothing hits, but then it's really important to look at what you did, why you did it, and why it didn't work, and really closing that feedback loop and trying to analyze why you suck, basically, if you suck. Or if you're doing good, if something is doing good, you need to analyze why it did good. I believe, I'm not sure which one of you said, but maybe someone finds a winning ad, and if they don't learn anything from it, it really isn't a winning ad. Yeah, you made some money with it right now, but if you don't apply that knowledge later on, it's nothing. So I just think doing the boring work and just focusing on the things that matter the most.
We'll do one last question. If you were to talk to your old self from this time last year, what is the piece of advice that you'd give that? What would you tell him?
That is a good question too. What would I tell myself 1 year from now? I'm not sure if I would tell myself anything. It's like you said, it's just doing more of what I was doing back then. That was really it, you know. Tug it out.
Stay in the trenches?
Trenches, do more, tug it out. I feel like for me, it was easy because we already had the knowledge of what to do. It was just more of application for it. That's why for me, it was easy for it. Carlo, you're putting me on the spot now.
To myself a year ago, I would just say, be around people that are already where you want to be, and just learn from them and absorb and be a sponge, because that's basically a highway to getting where you want to be.
I think for me, the biggest thing I would have said, and we can wrap up, is that you just need to zoom out. And number one is like zoom out at times, because I feel like it's very easy to get caught doing the same thing day after day after day. And there was times last year where I would work a 12-hour day and feel like I got nothing done, which kind of was the truth. But you really need to zoom out at times, and I think put yourself first before you can really start to help other people. I think that's very important. So zooming out to actually see things. And the second thing is to really respect your time. And if anything, it's kind of top of mind because I'm reading a book about it. But really to just, you're not, and this is a quote from Dan Martell, so anybody who's seen this or read this book knows it, but you don't hire people to grow your company. I mean, technically you do. I would slightly disagree, but I agree with the point that you hire people to get your time back so that you can spend your time on the things that actually grow the business, right? Like Shaun was saying, a lot of people who he knows, there's a guy in Evolve who did 10 million last month? 10 million last month with his brand. He hired people so he could be in his zone of genius and what he is best at, and that allowed him to do that. And so I think that for me this year, if I was to tell myself that last year, to zoom out and respect my time, and I probably would have hired a lot differently, and I probably would have been in a lot better position and grown a lot faster, but I learned a lot from that last year. So this year it's kind of what I'm telling myself. It's a backwards question, but zoom out, and then from there to really respect my time and make sure that it is being spent on things that are actually driving the needle forward or moving the needle forward. I think you don't realize at times that, for example, even if you're Ecom brand, you're doing customer service right now. Like, what are you doing? You know what I'm saying? We have a brand, actually, we just scaled they almost did $1 million a month, and they don't even have a customer service person right now. They got fired. And so it's just like, this guy was doing all the customer service, and we're like, what are you doing? So I think respecting your time is super, super important. That's what I wish I would have told myself last year, because you have to, time is the only thing that everybody has the same amount of time, but it's the only thing that's very finite, right? The difference between people that are doing 10 million a month, or where we're at talking about how to get to 10 million a month, is the fact that he used his time better. And so I think you have to really respect your time. So that's it. That's what I would say.
You call it a wrap then?
Call it a wrap.
Portugal podcast, we're done.
Oh, you knew he was going to do that. If you guys are still watching after all of that, thank you. Hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll see you in the next one.